how concerned are you about government spending due to the pandemic?
I'm a bit concerned. I think you should balance your books long term, even if you have short term problems sometimes and spend more in these cases. But still, you should have a clear vision, I think.
Yeah, well, for sure they're spending a lot, so that might be looked at as a bad thing. But honestly, I think it's a good thing, because if the government is not spending, that means that contributors, people like you and me, would have to maybe take on credits or stuff like that to just live, to eat, and move from point A to point B. So the fact that the government is taking this hit for the people, I think it's a good thing, especially that in the long run, I'm pretty sure that if they're investing the money right, it's going to have better result and not end up in a long-lasting crisis like in 2008.
I kind of have to side with the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, saying that due to the low interest rates that we do have, especially on our loans, is going to help, and it allows us to borrow more, which will help us have a lower deficit over time. So I think it's better to spend the money now and not have to worry about it for the next 50 years.
It seems every time we get a certain political party in power, they go crazy on the spending, which I think is way out of whack. They're expecting now all Canadians now, and for how many generations, to try and pay this huge deficit off.
I'm not concerned about it because I think we have to. I think we have to take care of the citizens in this country, however we can do it, and we'll just deal with the money later. It's the only way around it.
Sure. What about you?
Same, pretty much. Yeah, I've got nothing else to add.
Okay. Yeah.
The only concern I would have is down the road and how it's going to get paid back. Otherwise, I do like that our government is looking out for us in that way.
I feel our government has been very mindful of the people, and yes, they have spent money, but many of us have gained from it, and as long as people aren't taking advantage above what they should, I think it's been great. I like it much better than a government that thinks it's not important.
I think it's concerning because obviously we don't want a ton of debt for years to come, but I think the government has taken an appropriate response given the seriousness of the pandemic.
It could be a problem. It'd be nice to have some leeway, but you don't have to give people so many handouts maybe. People will naturally incline themselves to work somehow, and hopefully the government doesn't have to support everybody and that we can support each other.
I mean, it's a concern, but I think it's a necessary evil in these times. We have to support the people that don't have the money, otherwise the economy would collapse. So I think it's not something I like, but something that has to occur.
Oh yeah, that's a little bit concerning. Yeah, definitely. There's things like education where there was no money before, and now there seems to be money arising. I'm a teacher, so I have a little bit of concern about that.
I think the biggest hit we're going to see is yet to come, when all these people come off of CERB and everything else. That's when the real problems are going to start, I think.
I worry more about my great-grandchildren paying for it, but I think they need to do what they need to do. It's a world problem. Maybe China needs to pay for some of it.
I'm not concerned as much as some people might be, because we're in a crisis mode, and I think our government responded very well and addressed the needs immediately. I mean, this is an unprecedented situation, so I expect there's going to be long-term costs, but at this point I'm happy with what the federal government has been doing.
Yeah, it's certainly a concern, but I think it's got to be done in the meantime. I think there's certain situations where government spending probably has to outweigh incomes, and this is likely one of those. So I think it's we have to make adjustments moving forward for sure. This can't go on forever, but in the meantime we have to keep the economy rolling and keep people employed, and keeping the meeting is all good. So
I'm massively concerned about it. We had a budget surplus the final year going into this last election, and that was one of the major debate topics I found, was how they were going to spend the fact that we were looking at a potential surplus. And going into COVID, I understand that we're going to be overspending a bit, and we're going to be raising our deficit, but I'm really concerned about long-term how that's going to impact having to repay that debt over time, because Canada has, for the last 15, 20 years, not been the best at managing our debt level and trying to bring it down. We've tried to stabilize, but we haven't really had a plan for bringing it down for at least 2 decades now.
I am, yeah, as somebody who's actually claimed CERB myself, and wondering how or if I'm going to have to pay it back. I don't think they've been very clear.
I'm very concerned with the federal spending at this time. It seems like there is no limit to spending. It's like just keep on covering it, patching it up with money rather than finding solution. And to me, that doesn't work.